Hi, I'm Tristan Laurence. Welcome to Maeya TV. I'm here today with Jill Maxcy, award-winning director and filmmaker. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Same here. Great to meet you. So, besides being an award-winning director and filmmaker, can you tell us a little bit about who you are as a person? Like, are you,
As a person, let's see, I have...
like your interests and
my
stuff,
interest, yeah. My interest is filmmaking, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I was also, my father worked for Eastman Kodak for 27 years,
Okay.
and I grew up in Seattle, where he traveled a lot and brought cameras to our house and free processing, and that's how I got involved in the film industry, is I was taking lots of photographs, and I went into a lot of photography classes. And when I went to college, I went to Western Washington University up in Bellingham, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that there were no women cinematographers out there, so I kind of shifted my focus from photography to filmmaking, where I felt like I had a better chance of getting work as a woman filmmaker. And about 1997, I moved to Los Angeles after joining the Directors Guild and becoming an assistant director. I traveled a lot, and I learned from a lot of assistant directors and all their directors how to act and behave and get jobs in the film industry.
Sure. And so obviously that's, I mean, what quite a journey, and making headway as a woman filmmaker. When did you know that you wanted to get into film? Obviously your dad worked for Kodak and all that, but were you a creative child? Did you love watching certain films?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what was your inspiration and your foray into film?
Well, my mother used to take me to a lot of movies when I was a little girl, and I saw the film Jaws, and it traumatized me dramatically, but it also opened my eyes to the way music works in films because of how the shark was introduced with the music. And then I watched Close Encounters, and obviously I became a big Spielberg fan. And when I was in Seattle, when I was in college, I went also to the Art Institute of Seattle, where I took music video production, and I directed pretty much all the class projects. And so that was kind of how I got into movies, was through my mother pushing me to really pay attention to how music works in film, and a lot of the photography. She would talk a lot about that as well.
Gotcha. And so when you started here in LA in the film business, can you tell us a little bit about that process and that journey? Was it did you jump right in? Did you how did you find that process of sort of getting into the industry?
Well, when I moved here to Los Angeles, I immediately went to Florida to work on HBO's The Earth to the Moon, which was about the space program. And I was an assistant director on that, and then worked on that for about 8 months with Tom Hanks and a lot of big heavy-hitter actors and filmmakers. And then when I came back, or when I was in Florida, I directed kind of a show reel for the project, for the crew, kind of like a music video compilation thing.
Okay.
And then I just knew that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to direct, and I always felt that was my real calling. Assistant directing was very good because I could learn the business, and I could learn how films are made, and the timing, and the management of people, and how collaborative it is, a process. So it was pretty simple. I worked quite a bit. I'm very good at that, scheduling and running the set and managing people. And then I just kept working on short films when I would come back. Every single time I would work as assistant director, and then I would work as a director and switch back and forth. Yeah.
And do you have, obviously you've worked in film, you've worked in TV. Do you have a preference in either genre? Or
no, I feel that they're the same process. They are, for television, making a small movie that's an hour or 30 minutes, and then for feature films, it is a much longer process and takes a lot longer to put together and a lot more prep time. In television, we may get maybe a week of prep, 7 days, 10 days, something like that, and movies will get 4 to 5 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks to prep a movie. So I personally, I get that question a lot in interviews, and I don't see the difference, because it's the same output. We're putting a story out, and we're prepping it, we're shooting it, and we're putting it in post, and then we market it.
Right. And to that end, how do you choose what projects you do want to work on? You know, is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I choose stories that have or projects that have good stories.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of women's stories, and I also like a lot of action. So recently I've been doing some action movies, and I found that I really love the fighting and the stunt work and gunfire and explosions and
Absolutely, yeah.
But I also like comedy a lot, and I like dramedy. I like Hollywood stories that have a nice beginning, middle, and end, and have the main character has a journey, and they come to find something out about themselves. Similar to Close Encounters, or some of the movies that I loved as a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I've obviously working in dramas and comedies and action. I mean, there's a different speed, a different level of prep to that. How do you collaborate? Whether it's an action film with the stunt coordinators or the producers, like can you describe a little bit of what that process looks like? I know it's a bit different, but just if you have any thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, every movie is different, or every TV show is different, but I think what I like is the collaborative aspect of working with a group of people, from the writers to the producers to the stunt coordinators and the director of photography. We break down a script. The first thing I do is break down a script and then put it. I have a Google Doc process, and it goes from whose POV each scene is from, the character arc, the twist, the change in direction for the scene, for the actors. And then I also put in my shot list, a basic shot list inside that Google Doc, and then I'll put in I'll create a lookbook. Whenever I do a movie, I'll do a lookbook for the company, and I'll collaborate with the producers on it and the writers, so that I feel that it's really important that everybody has the same vision and that we agree on it, because, and I think that the lookbook is a way for everybody to say, yeah, this is what we agree upon, and then we'll modify it and change it, especially with the how the scene's gonna be lit, how the locations are gonna look, the costumes are going to look, and then once we kind of collectively get that document done, then we can kind of put it out to all the department heads, and then they go, oh, we understand what you're looking for, and then we can go scouting from there. And then I love collaborating with the director of photography about how we're going to shoot it, whether we're going to use drones or 3 cameras or 2 cameras or just one.
Right.
So that process is how I do it.
And are you a person that likes the rehearsal? Do you like to? I know some directors just want to go right into it. Some directors love rehearsal whenever possible, if the project allows for that.
Yeah.
What's your sort of feeling on that when working with actors?
Yeah, I like to do a read through in prep with the actors, and then if there are key scenes that are complicated, I like to work with the actors before we start shooting, so we can figure those out, and also working, if there is any stunts, that we work out the stunt sequence with the stunt coordinator. But I think the whole thing that I've learned is, like, through all these people I've worked with, great filmmakers, is prep. Prep is probably the most important, not just running into a scene and not knowing, because then it's not good to go and have to scout on the day. That we have everything figured out, and then we can plan accordingly, because it is expensive to make films, and my job is to stay on schedule and make the day.
And so how do you maintain that balance between meeting the creative vision and sticking to the budget? I'm sure that can be challenging at times.
Yeah. It is challenging. I feel that from my mentors also is that once you have the right equipment and the right people, that you are successful, and then you have to surround yourself with very talented people that are experienced, and like an experienced cinematographer and an experienced assistant director, or just knowing from my experience of being an assistant director for many years, it's just I know how to put the project into a correct schedule, and how it's where the sun is going to be and where the light's going to be coming through the windows, and so I think that's a big value to me as a filmmaker, of having all that experience, but I think it's just all in the prep.
Right. And so the prep is done, everyone's on set, you're working. What do you have any particular process or in order to foster sort of the most positive and collaborative environment and atmosphere that you can get, and so that everyone is on the same page and firing on all cylinders?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think when you start a day, you have to rehearse a scene with the actors, and then I like to do a private rehearsal that just usually incorporates myself, the director of photography, the script supervisor, and the producer, one of those persons with me. We rehearse the scene, and then once we feel like it's good, we then show it to the crew. Right. And then they put down their marks, and everybody knows what's happening. And then we start lighting, and I like to do that on every scene. Yeah. Every scene that's important, because the actors know what they're doing, and they can go relax and get ready for themselves. So I think that's important.
Yeah. And then once it's all done, do you take part in the editing process? How important is that to you to be part of that process? Yeah, it's really important to be part of that process. What I like to do is I like to clear calendar of when my notes are due. I like to have a director pass, and it's usually not a lot. It's just everything's digital now, so I'll just be at home. I get the dailies or the editor's cut, and then I think it's Frame.io. I get that from the editors, and I go in and I'll make my notes, and then they'll do my notes, and then the next pass goes to the producers, most likely, and then they give their notes. And then it's a lot about music and timing and shaving down scenes or just making them more efficient. Yeah. And speaking of making things efficient, and obviously the wave of AI and technology can be really helpful sometimes, and then at other times I know there's a struggle with the ideology and how much it's going to permeate and take over. What's your feeling on how you've used it in a beneficial way, and sort of how do you view the whole, Yeah, I mean, AI is a scary proposition for a lot of people, especially actors, but I think for the filmmaking director process, I have been using it a lot to help me outline scripts. So I'll have an idea, and then I will go to an AI prompt, and then I will go ask it to help me kind of guide me through writing a script, and then I take that script and then I rewrite it. So I'm not really using it for anything other than just kind of pre-production. Right. We do occasionally use AI cutaways in some of the stuff I'm working in. So like if we need a shot of a building, I can ask it to build that building. And so I don't have to go and scout that, but I can use it as like a textural piece through a movie, as like a drone shot or a building or a car driving down the road. So it saves you money, basically. Yeah, absolutely. And what are, obviously you've worked on quite a few projects. What If with Renee Zellweger, American Horror Story, just to name a few. Has there been a project in particular that you've just enjoyed working on, and why? Was it an actor? Was it a team? Was it a location? I really enjoyed working on Glee. I was an assistant director on Glee, and the second season, it was just really at the height of that show being very successful, and the cast was really great. They were a family unit, and we just did some outrageous stuff like music and pre-recording, rehearsals. It was very complicated, but once we got the system down, it was really cool to see these kids like go pre-record a song and then watch them do a Christmas song, for the holiday season, and then all the fans that would be around when we were shooting anything. We had to put them in vans and move them in places so that the paparazzi wouldn't catch them, and then also I enjoyed working on American Horror Story because I like horror, I like thrillers, and it was just a unique experience and something I'd never seen before. Yeah. What has been, in all of your experiences, or are there a few pieces of advice what has been the best piece of advice that you've received, just in, working with, these brilliant people that you've had the chance to work with? Yeah, I mean, I've had great mentors like Michael Showalter, who's directed quite a bit, and he started out doing small little comedy skits, and then he just kind of evolved as a director, and I've learned a lot from him about how to
ad-lib on set. Like he would do what was on the page, and then he would take Amanda Seyfried and say the dropout, and then he would spend like 2 or 3 minutes ad-libbing with her. And then that performance actually made it into the final cut a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Advice, I would just be be a good listener and a watcher and a viewer to learn from others.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that would be the advice that you would give your younger self starting out in the business?
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's what I did basically. But it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything or sort of a project that you, or a team or someone that you would want to work with in the future that's sort of your dream to collaborate with, whether it be an actor? Yeah.
Oh, there's so many people I would love to work with. I just like working, and I love directing, so I just feel so lucky to be doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with the way things are going right now. So. Just great actors and great producers too.
Yeah.
There's fantastic people out there, and there's difficulties too. But I really just think that the filmmaking is such a collaborative process. That's the cool part, is just meeting so many people that are very good at their jobs, and then just putting them all together in a team and then that becomes successful.
Yeah, yeah. And so, with that being said, what is a mistake that you see a lot of young filmmakers make that you wish you could
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes that these people make is being stubborn or not being open to suggestions, making it their way and saying that this is the right way, and then arguing or getting in a fight on set or causing problems that people feel uncomfortable. I think it's I think people need to have their opinion and know to stay in their lane when their opinion is appropriate. But I think it's being kind and considerate and also listening. And then when it's time to move on from a scene, you just walk away from that scene and you move on to the next scene to be shooting. So.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say that has been the project that you're most proud of? It could be when you were starting out, could be a short film, could be what did you when did you feel that you were
it was the episode of What If with Renee Zellweger when I was directing an Academy Award winning actress. I felt it was amazing directing her, and she's a really lovely person and very kind and considerate, and she's very funny too. But having all the gear that I needed, like that was a whole, from going to indie filmmaker to a big television show where I had 2 dollies, I had cranes, I had drones. They basically would say, whatever you want, we'll get you whatever gear you need. And that was the best experience I had so far as a director.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And are you working on anything upcoming or that you can talk about?
Oh, sure, yeah. I've been doing a lot of vertical projects, which I think is technology changing, because I have 14-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, and they see everything on the phone this way. Not this way, but like this way. And so they're doing this, and when I saw the vertical come out, I said, this is gonna really take over and be a big business. And so I've worked for Real Short, I've done an action movie for Real Short, I did a romantic comedy for Galatea, I did another drama for My Drama, a Ukraine company that's not out yet, but those are the main things I've been doing this past year.
Fantastic. And it is, you're right, every single kid I see now is right on the phone, vertical. Yeah. And besides your IMDb page, Jill Maxcy, is there social media where they can, the viewers can find you?
Sure, I'm on Instagram at just @Jill _Maxcy, and then I'm also on Vimeo as Jill Maxcy, so you can find me there.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that concludes our questions for today, and thank you so much.